Hey, it's June 30th. Welcome on into Daily Cards Live here on Claibs Online, sponsored by Munganess St. Louis Acura and Royal Banks of Missouri. I'm Joe Roderick, joined alongside by Matt Rocchio in for Bob Ramsey. And Rock, last night, we said it, in the show leading up yesterday, we talked about getting to watch Sandy Alcantara pitch, the Cy Young favorite, probably going to start the All-Star game for the National League. And he was every bit as advertised last night. But, hey, Andre Palante stuck with him pitch for pitch last night.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to say that you were more impressed with Alcantara with what he was able to do, just because he's that dominant. And I was really lucky in my positioning in the game. I was right behind home plate, so I was able to watch just the perfect angle if you're trying to watch a Cy Young pitcher, just to watch the movement. And Cardinals have some pretty good right-handed hitters, and man, every time they got in a jam, or every time they put him in a jam, he would just throw this high fastball that broke late right on their hands, and they couldn't do anything with it. It was so deadly, and he was so freaking good. And then you have to think about just the stamina. I mean, he has the two most pitches thrown during a complete game in Major League Baseball so far this year. The guy's an absolute monster. But yeah, like you mentioned it, to get 7 innings out of Andre Palante like that, have him almost go 100 pitches, fairly efficient for what we've seen from him as well. That was a huge start for him. We talked a lot about the rotation in yesterday's episode. That kind of start kind of changes your mindset potentially if he can kind of stack one or two more onto it.
Yeah, it was really it was really nice to see that, and to see him get stretched out too. Go 7 innings, throw 95 pitches in the game, and you now see him established as more than just another guy in the rotation, another guy just to start a game and try to get you for, maybe squeeze into the fifth inning and then move it on to the bullpen. I think he showed last night that he has starter stuff. He could be a fourth starter if they go out and get somebody else. He can be a fifth starter in that rotation for the rest of the year, and not a guy that you want to build into your playoff rotation. I think there you're maybe a little more comfortable with him going back to the bullpen and serving a purpose there. But he's a guy that I have not been uncomfortable with him starting any games for the Cardinals this year. I have always felt like they were going to get good innings out of him with him going in there and starting every inning fresh.
Yeah, absolutely, and it has kind of changed your mindset. I was very solidly in the kind of starter or bust at the least bit. Kind of the lowest bar for a move before the deadline. But now, if Palante can get stretched out to that level and go 6 and 7 consistently, I mean that completely changes the conversation. Now maybe you are focusing on the relief situation more than the rotation. Obviously, there's other contingencies there. Where Steven Matz, does Matthew Liberatore show something? Does Dakota Hudson kind of stabilize a little bit? So there's other contingencies as well. But having Palante when you didn't expect him, it's great for the Cardinals. And it's one of those things where I don't know if I want to be mad that it's the process didn't work, but the results are still here, because maybe their plan is just that much, more intricate than we ever knew. The fact that they again seemingly ran into a complete roadblock of pitching, or complete dearth, and they were going to run out of it, and it was going to kill them in June. And then somehow guys that we haven't really heard that much about are able to stretch it out like this, and it's just you keep doubting the Cardinals, and they somehow keep able to pull it out of their ass with the pitching. I don't get it.
And you can look back just as the month of June went on and look at some of the other things that they have found along the way,
Yeah.
because Johan Oviedo was a name that after the 2020 season, and then kind of you thought, okay, once they went and got Happ and Lester last year, it was going to be a long time before we heard the name Johan Oviedo with the St. Louis Cardinals. And you brought him back up, and you thought, God, this is kind of a break glass, moment here if you're bringing him back up to start games and to pitch a lot. But you know what? Out of the bullpen, he has proven that he too has deserved a spot here on the team, and kind of finding ways to use him and areas to pitch him in, because it now seems maybe Jordan Hicks pitches again this weekend, or maybe he had a bit of a setback last night. I know he gave up a few runs down in Memphis. We know Steven Matz is still a little bit away. So when those guys come back, somebody has to go down. I mean, Nail is obviously that top choice, and we'll see how that plays out this weekend, especially when they start to make some of these other moves, and Liberatore coming up as well. But Fernandez, Oviedo, those are two guys in the month of June now we have seen kind of have given themselves a role on this team.
Man, you mentioning Jordan Hicks kind of made me immediately regret what I said. Go get another starter so that you never have to think about putting Jordan Hicks in as a starter ever
I don't
again.
think the
Just
Cardinals are
just
thinking of doing that
don't
again.
ever do that
Yeah.
again. Gosh, oh my
I
man.
think that's an experiment that they have moved away from, and I think that unless he is a true opener that is just getting you the first three outs of the game, I don't think that Jordan Hicks as a starting pitcher is something that we are going to see again. Cardinals do have the day off today. They are traveling right now out to Philadelphia, a 3-game series out in Philly. Then they go to Atlanta before welcoming the Phillies back. This is going to be a tough stretch for the team going. That NL they go Philly, Atlanta, Philly, Dodgers. This is going to be this is going to test the team going into the All-Star break, and before they get that week off, kind of show where they stack up against the Brewers in the NL Central. It's not make or break. In no way is this make or break on the season, but it's a good way to test yourself against 3 really good teams.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Today is their last off day before the All Star break. They go 17 games in 17 days, just to start off the month of July, and that's coming off of a run where they played 7 or 8 straight without a run. So it's going to be about 24 games in 25 days for the St. Louis Cardinals when they finally hit the All Star break. And so really, we're at the kind of the very beginning, I think, of a run that's going to tell us a lot about what they have to do for their pitching, for the rest of the season by the All Star break. This is going to be a really defining next 2.5 weeks of games leading up into the All Star break. And I think a lot of the conversations during the All Star break is going to be not just starter or reliever, but how many of a combination of the two is going to be necessary, or the conversation's completely changed because things have stabilized and everything's hunky dory. That's not going to happen, but it could because there's so many freaking bodies that the equation could completely change and fall in the Cardinals' favor. But again, Hicks, Matz, everything else that's kind of up in the air. One of these things isn't going to go 100%, and I think there's still going to be some question marks when we're talking again in July 17th.
Yeah, the one bright spot for the Cardinals right now has been Juan Yepez, also Dylan Carlson. I didn't realize how hot Dylan Carlson had been since I was watching the pregame show yesterday on Bally's about just how many extra base hits that he has accumulated these past few days. But you look at Juan Yepez and what he has done here as of late since June 21st has raised his batting average from 276 up to 284. A lot of multi-hit games. He had the 2 home runs. He had the 2 doubles yesterday. This is a guy that is really hitting the ball well right now in a time where before that Tyler O'Neill injury. You kind of looked at the roster and you thought, okay, Tyler O'Neill's healthy, Bader's healthy, Carlson's healthy. When Dickerson comes back, is Yepez going to be the guy that gets sent down? Now, injuries have definitely changed the mindset on all of that because now O'Neill, Bader, Dickerson still not back. There's a huge mess of injuries now in the outfield, and Yepez is very safe. But I think there was a time before all that happened where you wondered if Yepez was going to be able to stay up on the big league club for the rest of the year.
Yeah, and yet yesterday when we were talking about the lineup, he came down as fifth, and I felt great about it. I was like, okay, Yepez batted fifth. I love it. The only pockmark on that run since June, it's about the exact same time frame I was looking at the other day, is I think he has 14 strikeouts and 0 walks. And I think his batting average in that run is like 30 points higher than his on base percentage. Now, luckily, that's not exactly indicative of his entire season, but it is the fact that that run is so crazy, and he's not even really working counts or anything like that. He's just hitting the crap out of first pitches. I think I look at his numbers. His first pitch batting average is ridiculous. He's jumping on stuff, and I mean the guy's getting mentored by Albert Pujols, so I mean that shouldn't be shocking, should it?
No, not at all. Yeah, 7 of his last 14 hits have been extra base hits, and then you kind of
Yeah.
look at what Dylan Carlson's doing. Same thing with Carlson. He's raised his average quite a bit too over the from 243 up to 259 since in the last week for Carlson. So you like to see those bright spots coming along because I think unfortunately the Cardinals' run of 3 players of the month in a row I think is going to come to an end. I think that's going. I don't know
Yeah.
who you would pick right now. I don't even know who it would be in the National League. I guess I haven't been paying that close attention. Maybe Matt Olson for what he's the run that he's been
Yeah,
on
I
as
there
of late. I know.
I know is I know Peterson's having a ridiculous year with the Giants. Did he have a good June?
I'd have to look at that, but I know Olsen just got the 30 doubles on the year for the Braves just the other day, so we'd have to do a deep dive into the rest of the National League to see who is going to unseat the Cardinals for that, with O'Neill last September, Arenado in April, and now the Goldschmidt back in May. So 3 months down into the season, the Cardinals will kick off July tomorrow with Miles Mikolas on the mound. It's going to be Mikolas, Liberatore, and Wainwright this weekend in Philadelphia. So that's I was looking forward to the Phillies being on the schedule coming up. Just for pure purpose of seeing a good team, seeing a team we haven't seen yet this year. I should say exciting team. Maybe exciting team.
I also enjoy watching teams throw the ball around the yard.
Exciting team that is been drawn back a little bit with Bryce Harper no longer in the lineup, out 6 to 8 weeks now with the surgery following his broken thumb. But it's still a softball team lineup that they're throwing out there, and still going to be fun to watch them play this weekend. And you know what? I look forward to seeing Matthew Liberatore go out there, and I would have really liked to see him up against a lineup of an extra lefty in there in Bryce Harper. But you know what? You get what you get this weekend.
I'm just bummed there's no Harrison Bader, because I would have put real money on him getting an inside the park home run against that defense. I would have put real money on that to happen. It's unbelievable how bad that defense is. My God.
We will be back tomorrow to give you a preview of the Cardinals and Phillies weekend series in Philadelphia. 4th of July weekend in Philadelphia. Find out if Claibs is going to head out there to the Liberty Bell at some point for a photo op in between calling games. I think it's a night game on Sunday, so maybe he'll have some time that afternoon, go and get a cheesesteak and take a few pictures around Philadelphia on July 3rd. I'll text him and ask him if he's not watching right now to this broadcast. That's going to do it for us, though, today. As I said, back tomorrow with more. Hey, this show brought to you by Royal Banks of Missouri and St. Louis Acura, the nation's only 30-time Acura Precision Team winner. Find them online at stlouisacura.com or go visit their showroom at 13720 Manchester Road, completely redone showroom there at Munganess St. Louis Acura. He is Matt Rocchio. I'm Joe Roderick. We will be back with more tomorrow here on Daily Cards Live, brought to you by Munganess St. Louis Acura and Royal Banks of Missouri here on ClaibsOnline.com.
From our roots in St. Louis, Royal Banks of Missouri is branching out to continue serving you with our locations in St. Charles, Jerseyville, Granite City, and now in Hannibal, Center, and New London. Royal Banks of Missouri, the community bank in your community.